Welcome back to my channel, guys. So, a lot of you are requesting on my Telegram channel or on my Instagram that, sir, how do we attempt the papers? Exams are near and we have no idea how to prepare it, how to write it. So, I'm giving you few tips on how to write papers in your BDS exams. So, the very first most important tip is write in good handwriting. There's a reason why girls are scoring more than boys because of this. There is no use if nobody can understand what you are writing. So very first thing is writing good handwriting. Second tip is you know use proper use of spacing, proper use of margins. Don't give too much of space. Like for example, if this much is your sheet, then at least you should give a primary margin here on your left side. And when you're writing, have enough amount of space between the letters, between the paragraph, so they are readable. Third tip is use multicolor pen. I know you can't use red or green in your exam, but you can use black, at least black and blue pen with pencil, especially color pencils. Those are not prohibited, right? Especially in anatomy. So, see, black and blue, but there's more fun with pencils. You can use them to underline, to highlight. Highlighters are not allowed in paper, but you can use pencil as an highlighter. It is not prohibited, right? You can either use it to circle the important part. You can circle it or put a rectangle over it. Right? For example, I want to say readable is important. You can just do this. Or you can just use your pencil and use it to underline it. You can use different color pen, like you can use black color to highlight anything written in blue, or you can use blue to highlight anything written in black. It will be time taking, but let's do these for long questions where you want to gain a lot of numbers. Another tip is proper use of time. How do we do the time management? For time management, see, we will discuss this also in later hour. I just want you, when you sit in the exam, you do the quick math. You can see every university have different pattern. You can do the quick math. Like most of the time, you just have 3 hours, right? And in 3 hours, you have two, part A, part B. And in some scenario, you have four part A, part B, and in that you have part 1, 2, 3, 4. So quick math, finish part A within 1.5 hour, finish part B in 1.5 hour. Same here, split the 1.5 hour. Do it around in 40 minutes. Do the part 2 in 40 minutes. Same goes for these. This is the quick math, always applicable. Keep an eye on the watch or watch the watch. Sorry. So the another biggest problem is how to write pathologies. For example, you have a question on how to write, like they'll ask you to write about OKC. To start an OKC, to write any pathology, what you do, you write about an introduction. Use your black pen to write introduction, put an underline. You can even write a bullet or you can write any number. Then you write any introduction. You do not have to write about, you can write about OKC, like for example, in ameloblastoma, we have that unique, right? Unique definition for ameloblastoma, unicentric, right? All the thing unis, right? So you write about the unique, and then you just write about it was given by. Okay, so how do we write pathologies? Whichever pathology they give you, either they give you OKC or they give you ameloblastoma or they give you any like candidiasis, anything. Even they give you anemia, this pattern will be the same. You have to write 10 things about pathology. You have to explain this in 10 points. The first point, always about introduction. Always carry a black pen with you. Write all the main headings with black. Write in capital and underline. Switch to next pen. Write about the introduction. See if they're asking about OKC. Write about cyst. Don't write about OKC. Write about cyst. They'll ask you about ameloblastoma. Then don't write about ameloblastoma. Write about in general about tumors. Right. Then you can even write the source of the information if any. If there is none, you can leave it empty. Then switch to another pen. Write about definition. In definition, you write the proper definition. If possible, word to word, like for example, in blastoma, you will write about the unique definition, and then in the bottom right corner, you'll write about who gave the definition, source of the definition, like it was given by Robinson, right? If year, if possible, otherwise you can write about Schaeffer's. This thing always work, Schaeffer's or Burkitt, right? You have to write about original author, or if you do not know the original author, at least write about the book. That will be the shape. Just write about the standard definition, standard book, right? If you're writing about pedodontics, just write McDonald's and every. It will be sufficient because this thing carry special marks. That's why you should write about the author. After that, you write about pathology, pathophysiology, or you can write about etiology. After that, you go for clinical features. In clinical features, please always write about age, sex, location, and race. Remember this ASLR. You know DSLR? You have to write about ASLR. Age of the age, most prevalent sex, most prevalent location, most prevalent race. Even if you do not know, even if there is no prevalence, you have to write. Say it is same between male and females, right? It is same in all ages. You have to mention it. That's what necessary. You are filling a point. You are at least saying that you know about it. Right? You ignorance mean you didn't write about it. They're just saying that you miss every shot you didn't take. Same thing. If you do not write it, you are missing it. Don't assume that there is no sex predation. I do not have to write it. You have to write it. After clinical features, if there are any types or classification, write about it. Or any variants. Like there is a lot of variant in ameloblastoma, you have to write about it. There are variants in anemia, write about it. Then you will go for any investigation if there is, right? What all come in investigation? lab investigation, right? You have to write about radiographic features or histological features, both of them. If there are any special test needed for it, like for example in Pager test, alkaline phosphatase is necessary, you have to write about it. After that, you go for provisional diagnosis. Or they say differential diagnosis, you can say. Right? Differential diagnosis, you have to write what all it could be. Then you can write about treatment, and the last is prevention. So every pathology should consist these 10 points if you want to score the max. Right? These 10 points are very necessary to write any pathology. Now, how do you attempt the question if they're asking you any anatomic structure or any histology question? So say they're asking you about muscle. In muscle, you will do the same. You will first give the intro, same. After that, you will write about the types or features, anything specific about it if there is. Otherwise, you can miss it. Then you write about the origin. You can write about insertion. After insertion, you will write about it blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic. Then you will write about its function. You can jumble the origin, you can, jumble the, you can write function first before the supply, or you can write it later. Not necessarily a game changer. After the function, if there is any clinical feature or any clinical relation, like if you're asking about muscle domestication, you can write about any pathology related to it. If there is any, write about, you can write about trismus, right? Or any surgical correlation about it, you can write it. But these 7 points should be there for any muscle. And the last is diagram, right? Then you have to see sometimes what happen is you want to write about clinical relation, you don't know, you not about it. So just write that what happen if that muscle get damaged. My masseter is a strong muscle which close the mouth. What happen if the masseter got damaged? I won't be able to close my mouth. That's all. That's you have to write. Just write one word. Just write one line. Even if it do not make any sense to you, just write it. At least you write something about it. At least examiner won't feel it empty, right? Then what if you have to write about bone? Pattern will be the same. You will start with intro. You will write about its if it have any type like it's you know you can either write about it, what kind of bone it is. You can even write about from where it originated or whether it's endochondrial or intramembranous ossification, right? Anything about it. You can even write about whether it's a long bone or a flat bone, right? Then you can write about its. So there is no origin insertion in these cases. You write about its surroundings bone, joint. If you're writing about mandible, you should at least give some point about TMJ. Then B and L or say NBL. Now blood and lymphatic. Then there come the function, muscle attach, any clinical relation or any pathology. I told you my rating is very bad. Then diagram, right? So what do you do if they're asking you about histological features? They tell you draw a diagram, write about histology of liver. So as usual, there's the few point about the intro of the liver. Then you will write about few point about its gross anatomy. If it's a long question in that case, location, or they're asking this will be same for gross anatomy of any organ, right? They're asking you about they tell you right about liver shape. So what if you have to write about liver? You will start with the same intro. Histology will be the same in this scenario also. Then you will write about it function. In function, then you proceed to any type of cells, any clinical feature is there, like any pathology. Then in the last, you will do the diagram. If they are asking you about gross anatomy, draw the gross diagram. And if they asking you about histology, then just draw a one circle, draw the histology, do the marking. How do you do the marking? I'll give you the most difficult possible way. So let's say you want to write the gross anatomy or the histology in this diagram. What you do, just pick your pencil, pick your ruler, draw one straight line with the pencil and write here. Right, if this is epithelium on the line only, this is connective tissue or this is the basement membrane or say this is your muscle cell, anything. You're writing with the pen. And what you do the dots here, here, or here, right? Whichever scenario you want. Then what you do, you draw the line like this with your ruler only. Connect it to the dot. Always draw the straight line. Draw the diagram like this. And after that, you just have to erase it. That's all. See how beautiful it will look. It won't take much time. You have to practice. Just draw one straight line, write all the name around it. Always write on the right. And if you do this, your diagram become way much better than writing like this. This make no sense. Don't do this. Never do this. Always go for this. I'll give you some sample how I made my diagrams, right? So next is how do you write about dental materials? Dental materials goes the same way. You will write about the intro. You will write about classification. After classification, you will write about its composition. After composition, if there are some functions you wanna write, you can write, or you can just jump to setting reaction, setting time, mixing time, right? In function also you can just write yeah, setting reactions if you want, setting time, mixing times, basically or the possible times are there. After that, accelerator and retarders. And in the very last, if you have any miscellaneous information about it, like if you are writing about amalgam, you can write about its like advantages and disadvantages. Should always write about that. You can function after that you can even write about use. So in this pattern, you have at least write about these 9-10 points about dental materials. So question is how many pages you should write. We have three kind of question. We have short note, mid notes, and long questions. Yeah, these questions cost around 1 to 2 to 3 or 1 to 3 basically. These will cost you around 4 to 5 marks, sometimes even 6 marks depending on the university. Then we have 9 to 10 marks or sometimes 8 to 10 marks questions. So वीडियो बना रहा हूँ बाद में आऊंगा like for example this is your page this side and then this back of it. Let's just count it 1 and 2. So number of page equal to marks. If there's 2 marks question, you have to write on this page and this page. If it's 10 mark question, write 10 page or you can say 5 complete page. You just have to write 1 and 2, then another 3 and 4, then 5 and 6, and 6, 7 and 8, and then 10. Yeah, simple rule. Even if you had no idea what to write, you have to write something about it. Fill it, draw diagrams, write in points, do anything. These are standard. Like they're expecting you 2 page, at least 2 page for a 2 mark question, or minimum most half of it. Right? Max or optimum is this, and minimum is half of marks. Simple rule. There is no exception to this. Okay. Points or in paragraph, always go for points. Always write in points. Nobody read your paragraph. If you have no idea how to like you you do the rectification, you remember the paragraph, just break the sentence. Do not write it is used to make impression. Just write use for impressions or use to for duplicate cost. That's all. Don't write any paragraph. Nobody like them. Never use points, use diagrams, anything possible. Diagrams or text, always. Diagrams have more weightage than text. Like for example, they're asking you about eye muscles. If you draw a diagram, draw the muscles, just write their names, right? Superior actors, write its functions here only. Medial actors, put 3 points here only. Inferior actors, you put 3 points here only. Right? Same way lateral actors. If you write even this fashion, this will earn you 5 marks or 3 to 4 marks easily. If you write everything, compared to if you write everything like this way. Nobody read them. This thing is always more preferred. Short question first or long question first. This will always be the issue for you. I told you, you have 3 hours. Break it depend on the parts. 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour, right? Part A, part B. In this, what in my university has used to do is sometimes they put 2 long questions, or we have 1 long plus 2 short questions, right? So either I have 2 long questions or I will have 1 long plus 2 short questions. So this will be the same for part B, 2 long questions or 1 long plus 2 short questions. Or sometimes you just have, you say, sometimes they just give you 5 mid-level questions like 5 marks. So what do you do in this case? If you have two long questions only, what to do? You just divide it by two, 45 minutes. One for one question, 45 minutes. For another, 45 minutes. What you do if you have one long and two short? 45. Okay. For this, divide it even better. You can do around 13 minutes for this, 10 to 12 minutes for this. Or you can just say 10 minutes per short. What you do for two long questions? For two long questions, same 45, 45. What if there's 5 mark questions? In that state, you have to split it evenly. You can write 15 per each. So, simple rule of thumb you have to follow. Long question, 45 minute max. Short question, 10-minute max. And 5 mark questions, 15-minute max. You have to follow this only. Leave any question unattempted, never. Even if you have to write anything about it, like for example, they're asking you about OKC. You do not know what is OKC. Then write about cyst. Write about cyst. There will be some feature which will be aligned with OKC. OKC is still a cyst. Okay. There is a famous saying that if you know about goat and they're asking you to write about house, just start with writing about some few words about house, tie the goat with the house, and just write everything about the goat. They're asking you to write about tree, just start with the tree and write everything about the goat. Just relate them. You have to relate them. Like how BJP do it. You ask any question about it, they'll either put it on Pakistan, they either put it on Congress. That way, you just have to shift the topic. What if you don't know the answer? Well, same thing. In that state, best thing you can do is use the goat analogy, right? They're asking you, you see, if you know any, you don't know, like for example, they're asking you tumors. You know, most of the tumors are common. Most of them are common in males, which are related to smokings. Common age is around 30 to 40, 30 to 50, you can say. You will hardly go wrong with these. Most of the pathology in general will lie in 30 to 50 years. So you have to find out the pattern. If you know the pattern, you can make it out. Have a nice day, guys. Thank you very much. Peace out.